The MIWA PX is a Japanese residential 6-pin tumbler lock. It is also the last non-cam lock cylinder from MIWA which I have not picked. The PX is certainly not the most exotic of the bunch, but for some reason it's the most elusive. I'm going to link all of my MIWA videos, both listed and unlisted, in the description below, so check them out. But for the time being, let's talk about the PX. The PX has standard key pins and singly serrated driver pins which behave like T-pins, often requiring them to be picked twice to be set. They are almost identical to the MIWA 3800 driver pins in form and function, with the exception of having a larger diameter. Construction keying is using a system of keys, each which progressively void the function of the one preceding it. It is traditionally accomplished with displacing ball bearings or master wafers. MIWA's system is a bit different. It uses a thin metal bar which rests in a groove on top of the plug and suspends the drivers of chambers 3 through 6 at the shear line. Only the first two chambers are active. This is the construction key. Notice that it only has the first two cuts on the key. When the construction key is used, the bar remains in place atop pin chambers 3 through 6. Once construction is complete and the owner is ready to move in, a special change key is used. This change key lifts the bar slightly above the shear line, and when the plug is rotated, the bar gets deposited in a groove parallel to the pin chambers of the plug. The customer can then use their customer key. When we inspect the plug again, we can see all the key pins at shear, and the metal bar is in its new permanent resting place in the specialized groove on the side of the plug. Now, the initial construction key no longer functions. The biggest issue with this method of construction keying is the massive reduction in pick resistance, as only the first two pins must be picked to open the lock. Alright, let's get to picking. Okay, I'm going to be using a bottom of the keyway tension wrench in the clockwise direction. The only time I use a bottom of the keyway wrench in a pin tumbler is if the warding of the lock doesn't allow me to lever off of the bottom of the keyway. In the MIWA PX, the keyway is very paracentric, and therefore I must use the steepest 15 thousandths SSDEV off the ledge of the warding to reach the key pins. Okay, 6 is loose, 5 is loose, 4 is loose, 3 is binding with a nice click, 2 is binding and is set with a small click, back to 6, which is loose, 5 is now binding and set with a thud, 6 is now binding and is set with a little plug rotation, 5, click out of 4, 3, 2, big click out of 1, back to 6, 5 is set. Now click out of 4 and we're open. Alright, let's get this guy out of the vise. Gonna lock him back up. And the first thing we're going to dump out is the metallic construction bar, and we can see its groove parallel to chambers 3 through 6. And now we're going to dump out all the key pins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These are the key pin chambers, the construction bar groove, and this dimple on the side of the plug is used as a depression for our centering detent. Finally, the amazingly paracentric keyway. I'm now going to take out all the driver pins. This lock was mastered, and I removed all the wafers that I could. I did leave the larger master wafers in chambers 1 and 4 so that the springs wouldn't get destroyed. This is part of the centering detent. The rest I will remove in a moment. Okay, now to the back of the lock. This is driver number 6, 5, and 4. And that's the rest of the centering detent mechanism. And here's the housing of the lock. When we take a look at the back of the housing, we see this little groove, which is where the construction bar is lifted when the change key is used before it is deposited into the final construction groove on the side of the plug. Here are all the key pins and drivers. The centering detent. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.